music is bumping.
I have the music in my heart.
That's right. You are the music in my heart as well. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of Talking Tongue, the March edition in April. Isn't that crazy? Oh my God.
Is this some sort of sick April Fool's prank?
It is not. And who is that voice from yonder far in the yonder Skype land? No, it's not Skype. We couldn't get Skype working.
Yeah, we're here to boycott Skype. That's all we're here for.
You know what? I was back on board with Skype the last time we talked, and then we tried to use it, and now it's betrayed us once again. So
that's it. They lulled you into a false sense of security, only to dash that away right after.
That beautiful
my
voice
name's Taylor, by the way.
Taylor Fleming. Taylor Fleming is back in the hoose. In the hoose.
In the hoose, yes.
In the hoose.
We are Canadian, in case there's anybody listening there who's on the fence. They're like, are these? Oh, yes, in the house.
I wonder if these people are Canadian. That's what people are saying.
I have never, that is, you know how that's the cliche Canadian voice? I have never once met a person that sounds like that.
No. I wonder if you have to go up north to get that, but you know what? I'm no Canadian expert, even though I've lived here my entire life. I've lived in Waterloo now for a year, basically today. And
you've changed, by the way.
And I haven't. I've learned nothing. I've learned nothing. People are like, how did I get here? I'm like, I don't know. I just moved here, and I can't use that excuse anymore. So, oh well. Taylor, I'm so excited for today. March was a pretty great month.
There was a lot happening in March, actually.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. Before we talk about the stuff that happened in March, anything happened to you in March that you wanted to just shout out, touch on? Like for me, I saw Umbrella Academy finally, which I did enjoy.
You did. I watched 3 episodes of it. I didn't dislike it. We have a lot of stuff to watch. So
I know life's hard.
Yeah, I got a bicycle. That's where I'm at right now.
That's dope. I want a bicycle really badly. It's just that in where I work, apparently people steal bicycles constantly, and there's no good place to lock it. So,
well, to be fair, you shouldn't have taken a job at a chop shop if you didn't want to run the risk of somebody picking your bike apart.
I thought it could be different.
Yeah, I thought I could change it.
Laura and I have been watching Game of Thrones still. We're on season 6.
Sorry, so, what of Thrones?
Game of Thrones. Yeah.
Okay.
It's you might have heard of it. Little show. There's
Is it like an indie? Is it like an IFC feature or something?
Yeah, there's thrones. There's sometimes dragons. It's all small stuff, but it's pretty cool.
Excellent.
What else? This in musical realm, Laura and I saw Dear Evan Hansen, which means nothing to you, I assume. But
explain yourself.
Very good. It's a musical about
an anthropomorphic deer named Evan Hansen. Go on.
About a boy in high school who tells a little lie that turns into a big lie. That's basically. And there's a lot of singing and there's a lot of feelings. And it
turns out he doesn't have a girlfriend that lives in Canada.
And what else? I've been playing that Apex game a lot. Apex Legends.
Apex Legends. I've heard about that. I've heard kind of mixed things. I've heard some people that swear by it and some people that say they're not going to touch it with a 10-foot pole. Hey, what's the deal?
I really like. Hey, what's the deal?
What's the deal with games?
I really like it. I'm into it.
Is it another battle royale kind of game?
Well, I don't really like battle royale games, but I do. Apparently, I do with this one. So it is very hard. I'm very bad at it. I probably sunk 30 hours into it, which is low. And yeah, it's just a lot of fun. I don't know. It's the same people who made Titanfall, which I think you played.
Ooh, yeah. I have Titanfall too.
Yeah, so
I'm not a big gamer, so that game's like a 6-hour campaign. I've been playing it for 2 months here.
Oh boy, yeah, you're not a big gamer. What have you been doing? Anything big yourself, Taylor? Living in the West Coast.
West Coast, best coast, baby. No, not a whole heck of a lot. Just been working, enjoying the sun. It's quite nice here. We, no signs of snow or anything. Just I went for had a game of catch baseball today. It was delightful.
I was just thinking, just a game of catch, just
by myself,
just by yourself.
Throwing a frisbee into the wind and making it come back to myself.
Hey man, whatever works for you, I guess.
God, I'm lonely.
Let's talk about some things that came out in March, shall we? I'm going to run down some things, and if I missed anything, Taylor, feel free to chime in here. In the video game realm, which I played none of these, I'll preface that. I've been trying to, this year in particular, unless I really, really want to play it, there's a lot of games I want to play, but I'm just going to wait for it to get a little bit cheaper. Because, dude,
Yeah,
games are
exactly.
fucking expensive, man. So
Yeah, like I said, I'm not a big gamer. I bought a PS4, but everything's like $80, and I don't
ridiculous.
care enough or want to spend that much money on a game.
Ridiculous. Oh, and I have to say, a big thing that happened to me a few days ago is I got an iPad, and now I'm able to trip. I have three screens in front of me right now. One with
Three
my,
screens.
yeah, one with my
Oh
notes,
my
one with
god.
a window capture, and one with OBS. It's insane. Anyways,
You're basically Tom Cruise from Minority Report.
I
Or Ned from Spider-Man Homecoming.
damn it, I was just gonna say I was the guy in the chair.
Yeah, exactly.
Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice that came out.
Is
Very
that the samurai game?
yes, and it's made from the people who made Dark Souls. So apparently, a lot of people are
Oh,
having
so
fun
it's
with
hard
that.
as hell.
It's supposed to be hard as hell. I want to play it. Too expensive. Yoshi's Crafted World. That looks cute. Too expensive.
Cute. So
Too
cute.
and it's a Nintendo game, so it will never go on sale.
Yeah.
Devil May Cry 5, which looks super edgy, and I love that. And that was the game that I wanted to play the most this month. But
Is it still that guy with white hair?
it's two guys. Actually, it's three guys with
Dante?
white
Is that
hair.
his name?
Is Dante,
Damien? Dante?
Nero, and V, which I don't know if he has white hair or not. And Tom Clancy's Division 2, which is basically like Destiny, but with not as cool, I guess. It's more
Yeah, it's
modern.
kind
Yeah.
of it's like real world, but like
Yeah,
if Terra Cells took over kind of deal.
something like that. And
Is Tom Clancy still alive?
I don't know. I'm sure we can Google that. But
It's one of the oldest questions plaguing mankind. Is Tom Clancy still alive? Or are they just putting stuff out under his name?
I'm sure we can find out easily. But let's just assume
Died in
he's dead.
2013.
Ah, R.I.P. Tom Clancy. At least the Division 2's out. And apparently it's not great. Movies that
This
came
is
out.
how he would have wanted it.
Movies that came out in March that are not what we're talking about today. Greta.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Wait, what's Greta?
it's the Chloe Moretz one where
Oh,
she
crazy.
talks to a
Yes.
stranger who's really nice, and then turns out she's crazy.
Mhm.
I'm Not Here, J.K. Simmons, which trailers made it look good, and then all the reviews I heard was it was not good, so not worth it. Captive State, John Goodman. I don't know anything about it. It came
Yeah,
out.
I heard it's different than what you expected, but I haven't heard anything about it, so
Yeah.
I think they're right.
Hummingbird Project, Jesse Eisenberg. Ooh,
Oh, that looks him and Stellan Skarsgård. No, I'm good.
pass. And The Highwaymen that came out on Netflix with Kevin Costner and Woody Harrelson. That looks whatever. I heard it's okay.
Yeah,
I'm probably not gonna.
they're
watch it.
enjoyable.
Yeah. And those are the movies that came out in March. And some news. Let's go with some news because there's a lot of stuff that we'll have to just touch on really quickly.
A lot of stuff.
First off, this is kind of throwaway. The Aladdin trailer finally came out. It came and went in my
Yeah.
mind.
Honestly, I forgot that came out. I do have a list of trailers that dropped this month. Maybe we could run through those. Just keep them all.
Go for it. Go.
Yeah, perfect. So the Aladdin trailer. First of all, what'd you think?
I didn't hate it. I think it's too. I mean, like it's gonna fall into the trap of shot for shot remake, which we'll talk about later. It just doesn't seem like it's doing anything new, which I think Jungle Book did. So as long as it's good enough, I'll be happy enough, I suppose. I kind of wish with the live action stuff that they take more risks, and I feel like lately they have not been. So Will Smith
You
looks
almost
fine.
have to go for movies like The Jungle Book and Dumbo, which we'll talk about later. But
Yeah.
those movies that they don't really have much story to begin with, and that's a good building block. Or something like Aladdin, that's Beauty and the
tough.
Beast. No, those are done.
Yeah, those
Like
are
they've done it.
those are weird because if you go too far away from the source or from the original Disney animation material, then people will
Yeah.
get angry, and people are angry when it's not different enough, right? So
Exactly. The shot for shots is kind of what's the
Yeah.
point.
and Will Smith looks fine. So
He looks weird, but okay.
really, I think he looks fine. It'll be fine. What
It'll
other trailers do you have here?
Sticking with Disney, Disney Pixar, we got Toy Story 4.
Ooh, yeah. I'm excited for that.
Honestly, I should preface this. I don't half the time I'll watch 30 seconds of a trailer or just not watch it at all because I don't want to be spoiled. I think I watched the opening to this, but I didn't finish it. What are
That's
your
it.
thoughts? I don't know much to say.
Here we go. Here's a comment. I shouldn't have mentioned Talking Tongue's a live show where we're doing it on Facebook and people get to comment live. And Paul Atkinson says, creepiest blue guy ever. For the Will Smith.
Maybe you've heard of my good friend Tobias Fumke?
Arrested Development. Great. I love it.
Yes.
What were we talking about?
Toy Story 4.
Toy Story 4. You know what? I first watched it. I really, really loved it. Second time watching it, I really loved it. But with the idea that someone said that they didn't like it because it spoiled too much of the movie. And then on the second rewatch, I was like, I guess it kind of does. So
Okay, I'm glad I didn't watch it then.
yeah, you're probably good.
I just saw the first bit. What I'm interested in is, you know, people have had discussions. There's been many an article written about, you know, what the life of these toys is actually like. And then in this movie, the girl creates a toy. She makes a spork into a toy, and then that becomes sentient. So I feel like they're gonna get into it a little bit more, the nitty gritty, like what happens after a toy dies. It lives in a landfill for thousands of years, or
Yeah, Pixar is really diving into the deep questions on life, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
You make life with your hands, just like you make babies with your vagina, I guess. I don't know. What other trailers? What other trailers?
You know, for an anatomy professor, you're not that great.
No.
We have a trailer to Deadwood. I don't know if you watched that, but the Deadwood movie's finally coming back.
I've heard of
Or
it.
Deadwood itself is coming back.
Yeah, no interest, I guess. I've never watched Deadwood. I heard it's fine.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's a very good show. It's the reason it got canceled is the writer's strike happened back in the day, and then they couldn't finish it, and their set was so expensive to maintain they had to tear the whole thing down, and it was just too expensive to get back up and running after the fact, after the strike ended, so they just never did. So now fans are going to finally get some closure on the series that was taken away from them, because this show has mad fans.
What else
like,
you got?
People love Deadwood.
What other trailers you got?
We've got Little Stranger Things season 3.
Oh yeah, I wrote that down. I forgot about that. That should be fun. I'm excited.
Yeah, they're teenagers now. They're grown up.
Yeah, that'll be great.
Yeah. It'll be more the same, which is a good thing. It's familiar and it's nice, and
I'm super into Stranger Things, so it'll be fun.
Me too. I hope they end it soon, though. You know, like 3 seasons in time would be awesome.
I will say 4 seasons. Give it 4. End it on.
Okay, I'll allow it.
Any other trailers you want to go through, or do we have there's other?
We've got John Wick 3.
Oh yeah, I didn't actually watch
again.
it. So
neither did I. I didn't want to spoil it.
Yeah.
What about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the ninth film by Quentin Tarantino?
Oh man, I did see that trailer, and I'm excited. I you know what? I'm a sucker for Leonardo DiCaprio. He is one of those actors that I see on screen, and it's an instant. I'll probably like it way more because he's in it. So
yeah, he's fantastic. But also getting Brad Pitt is one of the best character actors, but I once heard him described as Brad Pitt as a character actor born in a leading man's body, which I feel like perfectly sums up, because he's so much, I don't want to say better. Yeah, screw it. He's so much better in character roles and not the lead. And for those who don't know, like, a character actor is somebody he's never the lead, but they're always, you know, you look at them, you're like, oh, it's that guy.
Yeah.
He can really get lost in a character. Like, you look at like 12 Monkeys, or even the Irish guy from Snatch, or the serial killer in California. He's so good in these weird roles, but he looks like Brad Pitt.
He's so handsome. He's so handsome.
Exactly.
And
which is funny
Robbie,
too, because he plays Leonardo DiCaprio's stuntman, as if Brad Pitt isn't pretty enough to be an actor.
And we have Margot Robbie, of course, is in it too.
Oh, buddy, we got Margot Robbie, Al Pacino, Dakota Fanning, Emile Hirsch, who he's canceled. I don't know why he's still in movies. He's trash. The last Luke Perry role.
You think Emile Hirsch is garbage? I've only really the best role I've ever seen him in was Into the Wild, and I really love that movie. But everything after that, I don't really.
Yeah, especially like when he puts women in headlocks and chokes them out in bars in real life.
In real life. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's canceled. That's just, I love Into the Wild, but Emile Hirsch, you're done. Get out of my face.
Yikes. Let's see here. I got some news that we can quickly go over here.
You know, there's one movie that I didn't mention.
Oh, what movie?
It's kind of the biggest one. It's Endgame.
Well, that's obviously.
Avengers.
Obviously. The biggest movie, that will make $1 zillion. By the way, if you're listening to this on April 1st, apparently a little birdie says that tickets will drop tomorrow, April 2nd. That's what people have been saying. So get those phones, get your pocket devices ready. So, all right.
Yes.
Okay. Are you ready for some news, Taylor?
Yeah. What you got?
Disney Fox merger complete.
Yeah, that is, I think, probably the biggest news of the month for us nerds. Actually, no, it's going to change the game one way or the other, even if you're not to.
Yeah, I think it's
comics and stuff.
big for nerds, and like obviously everyone who loves comic book movies is are really excited about this. And I think right off the get go, it was kind of sad to see Disney immediately close one of the studios that Fox had that like came out with movies like Fault in Our Stars and Love Simon, you know, like indie movies,
Yeah, was
smaller.
it Fox Searchlight? I
Yeah.
think maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
smaller movies that had like big hearts and stuff like that. I like that. So, but looks like Disney's obviously more interested in like big franchises and what can make them the most money. So,
Yeah, and that is the downside. I think we should mention it does kind of suck having one company having that much of a foothold on the entire industry. They're going to
yeah.
own what is it, like it's basically a third of the movies that are going to be coming out now. Or
Yeah, that's stupid.
and
But
yeah, the problem like competition drives innovation and
right.
yeah.
But as a comic book fan, I'm excited.
Oh, buddy, X
uh,
Men.
James Gunn reinstated for Volume 3. That was kind of big
Speaking
news
of
too.
Marvel movies,
Exactly.
you want to explain that story a little bit?
Yeah, James Gunn, what was it? Maybe half a year ago, I would say, probably.
Yeah, I think in July, something around.
Yeah, was outed for making terrible jokes when he was younger, tweeting them, and basically, uh, I would say a lot of people came after him saying, "Why
A
does
lot
this?"
of a very specific type of
Yeah,
people came after him.
let's say in the red
Right wing
states. Yeah,
assholes?
yes.
Yeah.
And they basically brought him down a bunch of pegs, where I believe, well, we don't have to get too close into this, but James Gunn, I believe, apologized about this stuff
Oh,
far
yeah.
before he was even Guardians of the Galaxy #1, I think. Um,
Yeah.
so,
And I mean, Disney would have known before
yeah,
they hired him on in the first place. So it's not
right.
like a, you know.
Yeah. Let's see here. And yeah, now he's back. He's reinstated for Volume 3 after a lot of outrage and um, I don't know. He
Not
had a
even outrage, just fan support. Let's put it in a positive light. People, there
yeah,
was just such a showing. Like even the actors, the Guardians cast,
sure,
especially
especially
Dave Batista,
Dave Batista.
uh,
Yeah,
they really came to bat for him. And they were going to use Gunn's script for Guardians 3 anyway. But
yeah,
yeah, he's back now, which is
yeah,
how it should be.
yeah. Exactly. I'm excited for him to finish off the trilogy because I don't imagine anyone else finishing off the Guardians trilogy. Even if it has James Gunn's script, I think you need that direction as well. To
Mhm.
make it kind of complete. Otherwise, I'd feel kind of unfulfilled with the whole thing. So,
Exactly. And
yeah,
he did say years ago before any of that kicked off that Guardians 3 is going to be vastly different from the other two.
right,
So, yeah, people like it needs to be him because if it was a different director, the fans would be like, "Oh, it's different. We don't like it as much." But
right.
it's going to be different.
Let's see here. I want to get into our topics real soon, but there's two more things I want to touch on here. Stadia, that's really big in the game world of gaming, is Google's push in the next generation of gaming, where you can play big, high budget end games directly from technology that you already own, like on your smartphone, on your tablet, on your like kind of not great laptop or whatever it is. As long as you have a half decent internet connection, you're basically streaming these
So not in
games.
Australia. I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Australia might be screwed. But if any company can do it, it's Google. So it's exciting and very scary. Very, very
Uh,
scary.
yeah, I've heard people like I'm not a huge gamer, but I've heard people say for years that this is where they think it's going. It's kind of like a Netflix subscription service that you don't need the actual console anymore. You can just stream it. There are going to be servers all over the world, and
Totally
that's how you
makes
get it.
sense. It totally makes sense. It's just scary when you no longer own the games
I was going
that
to
you're
ask, what are
buying.
your thoughts on that? You don't have the hard copy. I mean, if
I'm cool with that.
the Wii
Yeah,
last year, the
I'm
Wii's
cool.
not online anymore,
Exactly.
right?
I'm fine with not owning a hard copy. I've grown past that point. I'm the same way with comic books just recently now. I'm just like I'll just get them digitally and whatever. I'll consume them and they're gone. Uh, it's like the same people who complain about backwards compatible consoles, or sorry, consoles
Yeah,
that are not backwards compatible. They're like, my PS2 game doesn't work on this PS3. Guess what? You'll never play those PS2 games, so who cares?
exactly.
Yeah. Um, Anyways, and the last thing I want to say is the big Apple event came out, which came out with 3 subscription services. Apple News, which is not that exciting. It's like a subscription model for magazines, but on your iPad and iPhone. Uh,
Woo!
Apple Arcade, which is a subscription service for iOS games, which is not that exciting. Although maybe they'll pull it together. I'm not really a big fan of phone games, so.
No.
But Apple TV Plus is Apple's big push to fight against Netflix and stuff like that. So I think,
Or maybe specifically Disney Plus.
or Disney Plus.
They literally took the plus.
It's
Plus
true.
2.
Plus, yeah, I'm curious to see how that goes because they fought really hard to be like, here's Oprah, which
Yeah, initially I wasn't that excited about it, but then you hear the name
Yeah.
Oprah with some documentaries, old Stevie Spielberg, which is some bullshit, by the way, because he's just putting up a stink about streaming movies not counting as actual movies and shouldn't be accepted at Academy Awards. I'm sure he'll be like, oh, this is TV, it's different. But
right.
you literally just said that you didn't risk, like, he didn't
Right.
count that, and then he jumps into it with Apple. So that's some.
Pay anyone enough money, I guess.
Yeah, you mean like Reese Witherspoon, Jen Aniston, Jason Momoa, Kumail Nanjiani, or
Steve
freaking
Carell.
Sesame Street gang?
Dude, that's gonna be big.
Yeah,
That's a
J.J.
lot of-
Abrams.
J.J. Abrams. It's I'm very curious to see where this goes. So we'll see if they have the content to back it up. Let's get into the episode, shall we? We chatted enough about March, but we got some topics to kind of breeze through here today. Let's talk about Captain Marvel, Us, and Dumbo.
Oh, do you mean Shazam?
I mean Shazam. I
The
do.
other Captain Marvel.
Speaking of, I am excited to see it now that I've heard some good things about. But today's episode is not about Shazam. Yeah. I know you're like lukewarm on it, right?
Tempered expectations.
Okay, well, I expect to have hopefully a good time. Like Captain Marvel, let's talk about that.
Let's do it.
Here, let me just throw up this window capture here. I'm going to throw some of this trailer in the background while we're talking.
Quit throwing stuff around. You're inside.
Bam! Captain Marvel. Look at all these windows that I have. Oh, hang on. This is not.
We're all very proud of you.
This is not going.
Three screens in front of you, and you can't figure it out, huh? Some
No.
man in the chair.
It's hilarious because I posted the wrong thing on the window capture and showing a Facebook conversation I'm having with someone privately. But it's on the internet. Okay, let's see if this works. Taylor, how about while I fix this, you tell me how you felt about
Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel, yeah.
I had an absolute blast. Full disclosure, I saw Captain Marvel twice, I think in the first weekend. Because with a lot of these big event movies, especially say with Marvel and Star Wars and stuff, whenever you see it the first time, you have all these expectations one way or the other. I, again, don't like to watch trailers and try to temper the expectations, but the first time I see it, it feels much more like an event. And oh my God, Captain Marvel was a fun one. It was one of those screenings that kind of like Black Panther last year, another Marvel movie, but it's just, you could feel the energy and honestly, just the happiness. Like, people were so stoked in our theater, and it was amazing. Like, the clapping and the big notes, people crying, it's not like a sobbing crying, but one of those, something would happen, and then you just kind of be like, oh, I didn't even realize that there are tears coming out of my face because I'm so not even happy, but just kind of almost uplifted. Like, she was so powerful, and she made other people feel powerful. She's there's just
very powerful. Just like, yeah, in more ways than one, obviously.
Exactly. Not just her strength, but just, not her physical strength, but strength with standing up to adversity and not taking no for an answer, not letting anything hold her back. In particular, her being a woman, like, you had a lot of people coming out and they're like, oh, SJW movie.
I know.
Stop cramming it down our throats. I'm like, first of all, Captain Marvel, like Marvel, the man, has been dead since 1982. Yeah, he's come back here and there. But like, everyone who's like, Captain Marvel is not a woman. Like, yeah, she's been a woman longer than you've been alive, so shut up.
Yeah, for sure. I really enjoyed this film too. I don't think it's my favorite Marvel film. I would say it's like probably middle of the pack for me out of all of them.
It was definitely one of the better origin movies.
Yeah, let's go with that.
I liked how they played with the format. It wasn't quite a linear structure. And we're not going to talk spoilers right away, right?
No. I have a little thing here we can talk about. We'll talk spoilers at towards the end of the discussion.
Perfect.
But we'll go with let's see, Captain Marvel. We have directors Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck who made Sugar, Mississippi Grind. It's kind of a funny story. Haven't seen any of those, so
I have. Mississippi Grind's got Ben Mendelsohn, who plays
oh,
Talos in this
Talos,
movie. So that's them working
great.
together. And
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't know that.
yeah, it's him and Ryan Reynolds. It's
Let's
they're
see.
poker players or some shit.
Close to 1 billion worldwide is what this movie has made so far. So
It absolutely blew the doors off.
yeah, it's insane. Although, if you look at opening weekend or where it is right now, not even opening weekend, but like where it is right now, I'm sure it's going to make much more money. But it's ranked eighth in the MCO lineup of how much money it's made. So I think that's kind of interesting perspective there. It's surpassed both Spider-Man and Guardians 1 to be specific here.
Actually, also, I feel like we haven't even mentioned it yet. This is Marvel's first female-led movie.
Oh my God, we should have opened with
How
that.
did? Yeah, I'm sorry. We just kind of take it for granted, but like, it's awesome. It took this long. What is it, like 22 movies before they had a lead? It took too long, but
Long time.
I thought it was fantastic.
Sorry, we have Angus on the other end messaging me about something completely separate, and it's making the bing, bing, bing noise every time you get a notification. It's very distracting, as people at home could probably hear all of that.
Ask Angus what he thought about Captain Marvel.
I think he liked it. Pretty sure he liked it. I think.
Awesome. Well, why don't we get into specifics? Maybe before.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about maybe the actor?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about. Let's talk about. Let's talk about the story setup.
Yeah. What do you think the story was?
Well, here's the story that I got so far is. This is
Wait, have you not finished the movie?
No. I left halfway through. Actually, to be honest with you, the people in my theater were pretty good, except for the people like really dumb, the Rotten Tomatoes people. That made it their way into the movie too. So I've told this story before online, but essentially there was a guy sitting beside me and Laura, and there's a really sweet part of the movie where Captain Marvel is giving an uplifting speech to a little girl about the power of women and how they can always push through adversity and all that kind of stuff. And then the guy beside us is like, "That's retarded," and I was like,
hard R tongue.
Jesus,
Easy.
yeah,
Easy.
Like, Jesus Christ, there's some pretty shitty people out there, but that luckily didn't. It was annoying at the time, and luckily they didn't bother us the entire movie like that. But overall, my viewing experience was good. And I only seen it once too, so I would love to watch it a second time before Endgame, and I don't think that's going to happen. Yeah. The story is the extraterrestrial Kree warrior Vers finds herself caught in the middle of an intergalactic war with her people and the shapeshifting
Played by Brie
Skrulls.
Larson.
That's right. She also has reoccurring memories of a life on Earth as Carol Danvers as a U.S. pilot.
Because she's got amnesia. She doesn't remember much before 6 years ago, right?
That's right. We have Brie Larson, Samuel L. Jackson, Ben Mendelsohn, Jude Law. We have returners Lee Pace. I don't know how to say his name, but Digimon Hounsou.
Yeah, I think it's Jimo. I don't know.
Jimon, yeah.
Jimo Hosu? I don't know.
Clark Gregg, anyone? Phil Coulson. We have Lashana Lynch and Gemma Chan and Annette Bening as well.
Yeah,
so
newcomers.
All newcomers. So that's pretty exciting. Let's save the story discussion to the end because that's when we can kind of.
You wanted to lead the story. Let's get into that.
I wanted to just touch on what the movie.
An overview.
About. Yeah, exactly. Let's talk. Oh, go ahead.
What'd you think of Brie Larson? AKA Carol Danvers, AKA Vers, AKA Captain Marvel. Even though she's never named.
She's never called No, she's never named Captain Marvel during the movie, I guess. They never say that, eh?
Nope.
I liked her. See, the thing is, I have a crush on Brie Larson. I like a Hollywood crush on her. I think she's awesome and she's very charming. And I think as Carol Danvers, she was really good. Although I will say, especially during the beginning of the movie, and which I would say is the weakest part of the movie, I think it gets way better after the second half of the movie, is that she seems kind of stiff, or like her acting, not her acting, but I guess Vers herself is really stern-faced character until later when she kind of unravels her emotions.
I mean, she She is, yeah. So she's a Cree warrior, a warrior hero, as she
Mm-hmm.
says. But the Cree, basically, her Jude Law is her teacher, Yanrog, and these aren't spoilers. This is the basic premise.
Mm-hmm.
And he's teaching her that he's constantly telling her that she has to control her emotions, get everything in check because they're all distractions. Humor is a distraction; it's a weakness.
Mm-hmm.
So she's constantly being told to suppress her emotions and everything that she is, but you do always get those little cracks in it, like she's always getting in trouble with the Supreme Intelligence or Yonrog or whoever because she is always cracking wise.
Yeah. So that
She's being a bit of a shit disturber,
you
and
see,
that's I feel
yeah,
like that's why it's kind of like she is kind of not
it's
stiff, but almost like reserved at the beginning. But that's because she's not allowed to be herself. And then as the story progresses, she
mm-hmm.
gets to find out a bit more about herself, and her inner character comes out. And like that's it's. I think it's almost structured that way, where the more it goes on, the more that we do like her because we're getting to know her as she's getting to know herself.
Yeah, it's weird. I think that's my only not large complaint, but I wish I got to see more of her playful side. And you see a little bit at the beginning, even when she is quote unquote stiff, like with her like teammates and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But it's just like turned on for like half a second, and then it kind of disappears, and it's a lot of furrowed eyebrow from Brie Larson and like looking into the distance,
Yeah,
which I think it could have
the
used a
movie
little less.
really,
Yeah.
yeah, the movie really finds its legs for me. Whenever she arrives on C-53, home of the Terran people,
Yes.
aka Earth.
Earth. Yes.
And yeah, from that point, the movie kind of shifts genre almost to a buddy cop movie with her and Sam Jackson, who
Which I thought was amazing.
pairing of the decade. They are incredible.
Yeah, that was really fun, and I love the technology around Sam Jackson's face. He looks so it looks so believable. They're so good at that
Oh, dude,
technology.
you just put a wig on that guy and he looked 20 years younger. It's insane.
Now the Phil Coulson makeup or whatever they CGI looked less convincing. I
Yeah,
thought
but he's barely in the movie, so that's fine.
it's true. It's true. It's just jarring when they spent all the money on Sam Jackson and they're like, okay, and here's Phil Coulson. Remember Phil Coulson? And then yeah. But anyways, it's fine. He's barely in the movie.
Yeah.
We have. Oh, go ahead.
There are some more characters, but should we maybe get into story? Because I can't really talk about some of these people.
Here. How do you? Well, before and we will. I swear. I swear to God, we'll get into story. But what did you think about? What did you think about the overall like theme of the movie and how did that resonate with you?
Uh, I thought it was great. I love the messaging. Like I had multiple times sort of bumps on my arms.
Mm-hmm.
Just of things that they seem kind of mundane, things that it's like that's not revolutionary in any way. They're things that we hear a lot, but they're not things that we actually get to see on the big screen, and that's a big problem with Hollywood, right? Like there,
Mm-hmm.
so many movies, even if they are starring women, are going to be produced or written or directed by men. But this is one of those movies where they're it's it's a directing duo. They're married, so that's why they work together. But
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah.
That makes
But
so much
like
sense.
having all those things, like just that the characters speak and interact and are just treated in general. I mean, just feel that they're pumping it up. Like it's not that women are better than men, but women and men are the same. And like it's crazy that is such a still a foreign concept to so many people. The people
Mm-hmm.
trying to take the reviews before the movies even come out.
Yeah, that was again, that was disgusting. I hate even giving lip service to what that what that whole thing was,
Exactly. Yeah, but then
but
I feel like Carol Danvers, the perfect person, and Brie Larson herself to take on these type of people. Like I feel like the real shit that Brie Larson's getting in real life is the same sort of stuff that Carol Danvers is putting up with
mm-hmm.
her whole life in this. Be it when she's a kid, when she's in the Star Force with the Kree, she's
Right.
constantly being told that she can't do something, that
Yeah.
she's too emotional. She's a woman. She couldn't be
Mm-hmm.
president. She's too emotional. Like all these things that, yeah, it's things revolutionary, but there are things that we don't see often and they resonate. I'm not a woman, but like I had goosebumps on my arms 2 or 3 times throughout the movie. Just
Yeah.
literally there's a montage of her just standing up in that scene, like full tears in my eyes. It's just one of those things. She's not going to take shit from anyone.
sheer
know, and
determination and strength to prove to not even just the world, because she has nothing to prove to them.
she's
It's more
proving it.
to like to her.
Literally,
She's literally proving it to herself as well, and
exactly.
it's really really nice to see that. And like obviously, Carol Danvers, that the character, how she solves things is literally brute force everything, which is
Yeah,
great. She is really good at that. Such a hands-on type of hero, and I really really like that.
and that's what I like to. She's a little bit just their characterization of her. Like she you know
Mm,
shoot first, ask questions later, and that's what I like too. It's like she's not a perfect person. Like
no,
it's a woman, but they weren't like, oh, she's better than ever. Like no, she has her problems and she knows that, and she has to deal with them.
right.
Uh, I absolutely love when she, like I kind of mentioned, the her standing up. I cannot wait for her and Steve Rogers, Captain America, to
Oh,
meet each other, because his thing, Captain America's thing, is like when he keeps getting back up and I can do this all day.
yeah.
She literally had that kind of montage as well, and like it's just those. I love that characterization where it's even if they can't like. And if she has no powers, she's still going to be that same person. It's not the
Now
powers that make her.
that's a power couple right there. I'd
I
watch
love it.
that. I'd watch that. Um, Two last things before we get into the story is action scenes for me were okay. This is where the movie is less impressive to me, where the I feel like the action scenes in this movie kind of I don't know, it felt like it was just rolling through the punches and kind of going through the
Yeah,
same
really,
motions.
the train, the entire
Yeah,
chasing, or her on the train, and then Nick Fury chasing the train, kind of like the French Connection underneath. That
yeah,
was super cool. Other than that, I do agree it was kind of nothing
yeah.
stood out.
Well, like when she was fighting to the song "Just a Girl," that sequence of fighting,
Hmm.
I thought was fun, but I honestly don't remember it. Like besides, like I remember that happened. I just don't remember what that fight looked like. In
Yeah.
my head.
Um,
Maybe when she went binary and she like started effing things up, that was kind of cool.
yeah.
But yeah.
The part when she was fighting with her hands
Oh
contained,
yes.
that was
Right.
cool because she couldn't use her photon blast, so
Right.
she had to be
Right.
innovative, and that was cool.
And the humor to me was mostly good, I would say. Like every Marvel movie, sometimes it does not land, like some jokes and stuff like that. But I thought they balanced it pretty well. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of that comes just from the interplay between, which was great.
All right, let's talk about the movie story. A little bit of the movie story. We don't have to go through the entire premise of it, but what do you? And we'll start talking about spoilers now too. I suppose let's kind of preface this that we're gonna get a little bit deep into it. So yeah, thoughts, I
As
guess.
so, okay, just a quick like over. As this, we find out that Veers, her real name is Carol Danvers, and she was an Air Force pilot back on Earth, and some events transpired, sent her to Hulla. Is that the name of the Kree homeworld? I believe.
Something like that.
Yeah, sent her there, and then she's been trained by these people basically to be used as a weapon, and she is trying to solve a mystery. So she goes back to Earth, and when in those travels, she's alone, and then that's when she comes across a young Nick Fury, agent of Shield.
Mm-hmm.
But she's also being pursued by Talos, played by Ben Mendelsohn. He's a Skrull. And do you want to talk about the Skrulls, Don?
Yeah, the Skrulls are a shape shifting alien who can literally shape shift down to the DNA.
Molecular
Yeah,
DNA. Yeah.
yeah, to any species basically, which is pretty awesome, pretty frightening. In the comic,
Impossible to detect.
yeah, in comic books they have the Secret Wars, I believe it. No,
Secret Invasion.
Secret Invasion. That's right. Which is what I thought this movie would be, but. Can we talk about it? I guess.
Yeah, this is probably my favorite part, and that's yeah.
So yeah, with the whole Talos thing, because like he's a lot different in the comics from what I've read and the small bit I read, but I also did the research too. But like Talos himself, like in this movie, is a lot more humorous and a lot more empathetic, and you root for him because he's not the bad guy. It
Well, not
turns out.
initially though, right?
Yeah,
Like initially, we are on. She's been taught that the Skrulls are the enemies; they're an infestation, and they
yeah,
wiped out throughout the universe. But as the story goes on, we find out that maybe that's not
yeah.
exactly
He's
it.
literally just trying to. It's good this way that they spun it in this way, but like he's just trying to protect his people, right?
Yeah, he's trying to find the light speed drive, basically. And then whenever we find where that is, there's also another important MCU relic there. We actually discover that Talos has just been looking for his family, and there's a Skrull colony that's been hiding
Right.
for years, and that's what he's after. He's not trying to find any sort of WMD or anything like that. He's literally just trying to find his family and save their lives.
Exactly, which I thought was great. A great,
That was a good reveal.
good reveal.
Like we knew that the Skrull, like we read comic, like we knew that the Kree weren't good. But that reveal that he was literally just looking for his family, that was, I thought, super well done.
Yeah, and I love just them working together afterwards. And like they made Ben, because Ben Mendelsohn, from what I've seen him in, and not that's not much, but a couple movies, he's usually the bad guy, because he plays it so well, I feel. And in this, he
Yeah.
starts the bad guy, and he's a lot again more empathetic and more you root for him once they do the twist. So I like that a lot. And he's funny. He had some
He's very funny. Him and
very
his science guy.
Oh, the science guy. That was so great. It's so great
Yeah.
because the science guy doesn't. I don't even think he says a word. The science guy.
No, he does later on in the
Oh, does he?
before
Okay.
before he gets got. Sorry, spoilers.
Spoilers.
Uh,
Whatever.
Maybe just before we can touch on Maria and Monica Rambeau.
Sure. Yeah. Maria being in this movie, anyways, Carol's best friend.
Mhm.
Which
They were in the Air Force together.
That's
well,
right.
actually, not the Air Force. They were flying because, and this is another thing. It wasn't. They didn't make this say in the movie. At the time, women weren't allowed to fly in the Air Force.
Yeah.
So the closest thing that they could do was test these ships.
Right.
And testing one of the ships that resulted in getting Carol getting the powers. Which,
Yeah.
But I thought that was fantastic. So they find a picture of Maria and then they track her down, and Maria and her daughter Monica help fill in the gaps for Carol about who she is. And that I also thought those kind of quiet moments, just sitting at her house, were some of the best in the movie as well.
I agree. That's when the character Carol Danvers switches for me, where she becomes a lot, because she's like, Carol, this is the person you were, and whatever, whatever. And then you start diving deeper into those flashbacks a little bit, and that's
Mhm.
when we get to learn more about who Carol was. Because, and I'm glad they didn't play too much with the whole amnesia trope in this movie. But I've heard complaints with people saying that that they didn't give enough backstory to Carol. For me, it worked. I liked how they
Yeah.
told the story. I like how it felt different, anyways, on how they
It
presented all this.
it wasn't
Yeah.
a linear story. It wasn't just another Marvel.
Yeah, I don't know what.
It
See,
pops around.
I don't really agree with that argument per se. It's like you kind of see the flashes of what those moments were, and for me, that was enough information to take with what they're
Yeah,
trying to
exactly.
say about
Like
the character.
I don't hear people making those complaints for like we didn't see Iron Man when he was young or Scott Lang when he was young. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
We saw actually more of Carol's life than a lot of the characters, so that's kind of funny.
right. Yeah, I thought it's an interesting thing to say, but anyways, what other things do we want to say about the story?
Can we just jump in and give some future predictions?
Future predictions of where Carol lands in this?
Yeah. Well, first of all, Monica is definitely be fun.
So say again.
That's Monica, Maria's daughter.
Yep.
Well, it's been almost 25 years between when this movie. Oh, we didn't even mention. It takes place.
Yeah, in 1995, I think.
Yeah.
It was.
So when Carol comes back in Endgame, it's going to be 2019. Like that's a good amount of time. Monica's going to be all grown up. They even they allude to it. Like, are you going to glow like your Auntie Carol and fly? And
Yeah,
she
I-
is.
Well, yes, and I love how they set that up. I wonder if they'll go with it. Honestly, maybe Captain Marvel too, right?
Yeah.
when
Well,
do
they
that.
have to set up for Phase 4, right?
Right.
They need.
I mean, they've already talked about Miles Morales in Spider-Man, and I am not even convinced that he'll be in the next movie, judging by what we've seen so far.
No.
So maybe it's just one of those things that's like we know that Monica becomes Captain Marvel at some point.
And
Um,
I think that Talos' daughter is going to. I forget her name. The Skrull Queen. It's something with a V. It's like Valeria, weird
hmm.
like that. I think she's going to be bad in the future.
Oh yeah, I can completely see where the Skrulls. There's still room for Skrulls to be bad. So
Yeah, I mean they were good. That went against our expectations, but Kevin Feige himself said, just people, like there are good ones and there are bad ones.
Yeah,
Don't
exactly.
put people in boxes one way or the other.
Let's see here. I want to move ahead to because we don't have to touch on every single character because I want to move on to these other movies we got to talk about. Like the whole Supreme Intelligence stuff. I was fine with. I guess it wasn't my favorite part of the movie. But Jude Law, I thought was kind of an interesting. I like Jude Law, so he
Yeah.
at least on screen he's very charismatic. So whenever he's on screen, uh, there's something about him that makes you kind of try to listen to what he's saying or like
Yeah,
how
almost
he's
root for him.
root for
In
him.
lesser hands, I agree. He probably would have come generic
Yes,
in one note, but
that's
Jude
right.
Law does have that bit of charm to get it
Yeah,
through.
I don't know what it is. It's you're right. Like if they put just like a random B actor in there, I'm like, okay, maybe not. But I don't know. The way Jude Law does his acting is very interesting. I find. I don't know. Uh,
I
and,
loved the end scene. I don't know if I want to spoil that, but just between him and their
oh yeah,
final confrontation, it's just
it's so good.
perfect.
That's
Yeah.
that I have a small favorite moments batch here, and that's one of them when she blasts Jude Law, and he's just like, he basically
Prove yourself to
yeah,
me.
prove yourself, don't use your blasters, and that's his way of trying to control a woman, and
Yeah.
to not to not bring out her full potential, basically.
Keep her
Yeah,
under the thumb.
yeah, exactly. Um, let's see here. Goose was one of my favorite parts of the movie. Goose the
Oh
cat,
yeah,
the
Chewie
flirkin.
in the comics. Yeah.
That's right, the flirkin.
What's a
Uh,
cat?
although I will say, even though that was one of my favorite parts of the movie, the flirkin part with the tentacles coming out Goose's mouth,
Yeah.
it was exactly the same as when Groot kind of like smashed people in Guardians 1. You know, when he like Groot
Yeah.
like I don't know, he pierces a bunch of people and knocks them back and forth. It's
Mhm.
basically the exact same scene. So
Yeah, but I don't know. Chewie exists in the comic. The cat's name is Chewie in the comic, not
yeah, yeah.
Goose. But
No, I just meant
yeah,
like how they present that like ridiculous, like I'm gonna kill a bunch of people with this one ridiculous move.
yeah. It was
Uh,
more of a reveal, I guess. It was more of a shock.
that's right.
He's a cute little kitty.
I've heard some people, even though I'm totally okay with it, is say that they didn't like the Sam Jackson eye reveal.
I knew that would ruffle some feathers.
Which there is I forget Angus or who we just talked about not too long ago. He discussed that there's a YouTube channel about some guy talking about how Marvel always undercuts their big moments with kind of a cheap humor, so basically a cheap laugh, is what it amounts to, and this also falls under that category for those people, and. I would say don't take it too seriously. I don't know. Like, what
Yeah,
else did you
I
want to?
I, I don't know. I did like that for a character though. I'm like, yeah, he's a C.
Yeah, I liked it. Um,
Whatever.
whatever. When she goes binary, when the fight on the train with the old lady, how Fury likes his sandwich, I thought was fun.
Ooh, that did I tell you that theory?
Yeah, you told me. Yeah, tell the
Yeah.
people. Tell the people.
So Steph found this theory online that in one of the things, whenever Carol's trying to decipher whether or not he's a Skrull, she's asking him questions because Skrulls can only replicate newer memories. So she's asking old things. One of the things that he says is that everybody calls him Fury. Nobody calls him Nick, not his mom, not his friends, not his kids if he had them.
Hmm.
And then he also says that he can only eat a sandwich if it's cut diagonally.
Right.
But if we go back to Avengers Age of Ultron, he's in Clint Barton's kitchen and he's eating a sandwich that is cut in a straight line, just right down the middle.
Oh
Not diagonal.
man, possible scroll? Who knows?
Well, I think it's too specific an example. I looked up how many movies he's been in. He was in Winter Soldier, then he was in Age of Ultron, and then the cameo in Avengers Endgame. So we actually haven't seen him since the end of Winter Soldier, which is when some people think he might have got switched.
Right.
But I feel like him eating the sandwich is a way too specific example of
Yeah.
something that happened in the movie already. And that's one of the things, like, we know that Ben Mendelsohn is a Skrull later on because he calls him Nicholas instead of Fury. It's literally one of the three things that he mentions is how he was outed as a Skrull, how Ben Mendelsohn was outed as a Skrull.
Hmm.
Why not one of the other theories in that exact same scene? Like, I feel like it's way too specific and Marvel wouldn't miss that.
I feel like it's possible they would miss it. I mean, it is a big universe. I feel like there could be a slip up, but I like it. I like the theory all the same. Um, let's see.
Also,
Go ahead.
yeah, Steph, just from the
Oh, sorry, your mic
and
cut
in the
out. Your mic cut out here.
can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Steph has just let me know from that when the Skrulls land at the beach, there are 4 Skrulls, and in the movie there are only 3. There's the one that is in the chase scene that turns into Coulson. There's Ben Mendelsohn, and then there's the science guy.
Oh
Where's
yeah,
the
that's
4th
true.
one?
I like that. I do like that. I remember
Yeah,
you telling me that, and I was like, "Ooh, that's juicy." Let's move. Okay, I'm gonna just
yeah. This movie came out like a month ago. I
yeah.
feel
Let's
like
rifle through these Easter eggs here because we have a lot to talk about, and we've been talking for a while.
it's a
Uh,
good movie.
it's a good movie. I like it a lot. The Stan Lee cameo, Top Gun reference. Stan Lee cameo
Amazing.
is great. I love it.
Mallrats reference.
Uh,
So
yeah,
this is weird though because that means Stan Lee as Stan Lee exists in this movie because his character in Mallrats and he
yeah.
talks about the Thing having a rock dick or whatever. Like he talks about literally characters that he created. So I was like, wait a minute, what does this mean? But I don't
Stan Lee
care.
is everyone. He's a watcher after all.
That's true.
And the last thing I'll say is obviously the post credit scene was really juicy. Uh, Not the goose one. He's just
That
coughing
was
up the
really
Tesseract.
goosey.
Like I could talk a little bit longer, obviously, about like the Tesseract, and I don't feel like it was necessary to put it in the movie, but I get it. You kind of want to tie it into the larger universe, so whatever. Um, it,
I think it was also just because it kind of disappeared at the end of which one was it? First Avenger? Or no, it was in Agent Carter. That, but it's been gone for decades. So
right,
I think that was them just being like, how did they get the Tesseract back?
right.
This is
Was it?
them just kind of bridging a gap.
It's post Captain America, right? Yeah. Because 1995. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, let's move on to us. And I'm gonna get you, Taylor. We're gonna try this, and this might not be the right decision, but I think your mic's cutting it in and out. You want to
Mhm.
try to, without disconnecting the call, unplug the microphone and plug it back in. I don't know if he's here. Is he doing it, ladies and gentlemen? I'm not sure.
Hello?
Yo, okay, let's try that.
We back.
Yeah, we back. All right, let's move on to us. And this one, I feel like we can talk for forever. Let's try to keep it tight.
Yeah, like the last one we didn't.
Yeah, and don't worry. I mean, Dumbo, I will assure you it is a shorter conversation.
Yeah. It's
But
going to be one-sided, that's for sure.
yeah, it will definitely be one-sided. But let's try to unpack us a little bit. I'll start off by saying, obviously, it's Jordan Peele's latest movie after
His
the.
sophomore.
That's right. After the Academy acclaimed Get Out horror film, reaching $175 million worldwide, which is amazing for a horror movie in general. But also, it's such great for like original
Also
ideas.
a completely black cast.
That's right.
All leads.
It's all that. It's just like that and being like an original idea. Like, I love all of that.
That's a lot of people are talking about all the records that are, but it's one that people aren't mentioning is that it's made the most money for a movie with a female lead.
Oh, cool. I did not even put that together.
Yeah, I know that. I don't know why people aren't talking about
Also,
that.
Lupita Nyong'o's first lead acting role. And
Isn't that crazy? She won an Oscar
Yeah,
for 12 Years a Slave, and she
yeah,
has not been the lead in
yeah. It
that
is
is what is wrong. Like,
insanity. I've heard, and Jordan Peele, I listened to a podcast with him, and Jordan Peele doesn't know either, but he imagines it's because she's been waiting for the right movie, because he finds it kind of nutty that nobody approached her for a leading role, kind of thing. But
you know
who
what?
knows?
They're lost, man.
Yeah. He says it also wouldn't be surprising in today's landscape that she also wasn't offered a leading role beforehand either, but who knows? Let's see. Was it scary? That's the question.
I think it was very tense, and I like those movies. I don't. I love horror movies, but I hate a cheap horror movie with cheap scares and things jumping out at you.
Yeah.
This movie, for a horror movie, it really, and I have heard some complaints that people feel it's overstuffed. I thought it was great, and I love the way that he mashes all these horror subgenres into one movie.
Yeah.
So you do have the kind of supernatural elements. You have the invasion movie. You have some weird shit that we'll talk about later.
Mm-hmm.
But I like that. And like during the home invasion, like it was one of those movies that I was very tense throughout.
Me
I
too.
wasn't getting scared left and right, but I don't like that. It's just the unnerving
No,
all the good and all the bad characters sitting in one room looking at each other, and you can just hear a pin drop.
it's exactly that. And I'm someone who also I'll say right now that I don't really like horror movies, although this movie and Get Out, both of those movies have made me come around to the genre in a big way. Like if because
I'll give you a list. Don't worry, buddy.
yeah, like I love the humor in this movie. Like it's really funny.
Do you want to
But
give a little backstory on Jordan Peele?
sure. I mean, who doesn't know Jordan Peele at this point? Come on. All I really know is basically he came from. He must have not came from it, but he's famous for Key and Peele.
Yeah. Well, he was on Mad TV for years. I think
Yeah. SNL?
24
Was he in
something.
SNL? No.
No. Mad TV.
So Mad TV with
Keegan Michael Key.
Keegan, yes. Keegan Michael Key and Jordan Peele did Key and Peele for many, many seasons, and they kind of broke off with their own successes, right?
Yeah, variety sketch show, and then
Yeah, Keegan Michael
he
Key
is doing a lot of acting roles, a lot of
Yes.
different stuff, and Jordan Peele is kind of man, he's going to be the king of Hollywood soon.
Yeah, it's awesome, and so that's why he's so good at. And we've maybe talked about this before, at least with each other, but how comedy and horror are almost one and the same.
Yeah, we've
building-
talked about this on your podcast, Ranked.
So
It's a release, it's a build and release of tension one way or the other.
So I think in both cases they do such a good job with the funny, like it's really funny. And it's funny because it's honest too in its humor. There's a scene very early on where I forget it, Winston Duke, I think his name is.
Yeah.
Where he's just like trying to seduce Lupita Nyong'o's character.
Oh, so I like how he's just getting himself. And he tries a couple.
And he's not hamming it up. He's literally becoming that person, and it's just funny.
I'm sure you've heard he based his character on Homer Simpson.
Oh, I love that. That's so good. And the scariness to me was, the tension of this movie was just really thrilling. And I know some people were like, I don't like this movie because it's not horror. It didn't scare me. And I'm like, well, if it didn't scare you, that's its own thing, I suppose. But
yeah.
I
also horror, much like comedy, is very.
Yeah, I think for me it was perfect in that sense of being the perfectly accessible horror movie, I suppose.
He doesn't conform to a genre. He blends everything. Like I said,
it's a lot more scary than Get Out, I would say that.
It's so creepy. For me, that's what it is. It's a very it feels like there's a spider crawling on you for an hour.
Yeah.
40 minutes, however long it is.
I guess the general setup of the movie is like without the themes and stuff, is that there are basically a doppelganger of yourself out there called the Tethered, and the Tethered are out to kill you. Is like kind of like that's not the theme of the movie, but that's the basic premise, is that there's a doppelganger.
They go to a summer home in Santa Cruz,
Yeah.
and then one night the boy comes and says there's a family sitting and they start to terrorize them, and then they later find out that they are their doubles.
And that's freaky. And I've heard Jordan Peele say that, the scariest thing, well, this is the theme of the movie right here, is maybe what we should be afraid of is us. Right? We are the scariest kind of entity in the world, and not the people around us. And I love, what I really, really, really love about this movie is how the interpretation of this movie has just been so all over the place from so many different people, and the theories that have come out of this movie is just so incredible. So I'm really digging that. Am I losing you here? I think your microphone might be completely out. Yep. And let's see here. Taylor, oh, we have you. Oh, yeah, I cannot hear you if you're trying to talk. Maybe do the old unplug plug thing. Maybe do the.
I hear you. Hello.
Oh man.
I'm sure you were just spilling gold. Keep moving forward.
I was spilling much gold. Although I will say our voice connection, I can see on our. Oh boy, hopefully Discord here is quite poor right now. Hopefully.
Yeah, it's been green the whole time. Oh, maybe Discord is racist.
Oh no.
And they just don't want us talking about us.
You know what? It happened when we started talking about us, and now look at where we are. Oh God, I'm scared.
Ugh. Damn, I hate to out a company like this, but here we are.
But what I was saying was, here I got it's green.
Maybe we can try talking about the white character. Come back.
What I was saying earlier before you cut out was that I love the amount of interpretations that have come out of this movie, and how people feel about this movie. It's all over the
Yes.
place.
Can we maybe talk about characters or whatever, and then get back into this in spoilers? Because I want to hear your take and
Sure.
which I haven't seen yet.
Yes. My take is kind of all over the place because I think it's colored by other people's takes, to be honest.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, I went first weekend just to be like, I don't, and I know you did too. You saw it a day,
I think
but
it,
just
it yeah,
the same day. Yeah.
same day.
Uh, yeah, but yeah, just try to get in before all the things. But
Sure.
yeah, why don't we just talk? First of all, every actor pulls double duty in this movie, which is incredible.
Oh my god. And oh god, like I genuinely it's something like even now it's been like a week. Yeah, it's been 1 week or maybe 2 week and a half
Yes.
that even now when I turn off the lights, I kind of afraid that someone in a red jumpsuit is gonna be standing right there when I turn off the light, and it's like kind of frightening. This, you know what it is?
Yeah.
It's Lupita Nyong'o's red character, the way she acts that character, where like I just get kind of just goosebumps. I'm just so scared. Uh,
Oh, she's so creepy. The way she puts her hands on her face
yeah, and just kind of
thing.
yeah.
Oh, it's so creepy.
I'm the trailer right now is playing in the background, and I'm trying not to look at it because I've seen that clip like 3 times since we started talking about us, and it's freaking me out. Uh, anyways, I don't I kind of don't know where to begin with this movie. I will just say that like uh the biggest thing I have, or not the big, it's I almost have a big pet peeve of this movie, and it's not because of this movie. It's about people who watch this movie. Is that I think it really separates uh, a different breed of moviegoers almost.
Yeah, the boys from the men. I'm right there with.
So I've had this discussion with a lot of people at work who have seen this movie because it is like a very big, it was a very big anticipated movie,
Mhm.
and
Hotly.
yeah, and then you have people who seen the movie and they're like, this was so amazing, I can't wait to talk about it, this is why it's great because of this. I love the layers here, I love the thematic, the themes here, I love all the theories here and all this good stuff, right? And then
Mhm.
you have people who are like, I don't like this movie at all because A, it didn't scare me, and especially B, I don't get it because they don't explain everything to me. And that is when I get a visceral like, it's I get so angry at people.
That's so funny. I was talking to a friend today from Ottawa saying
Yeah,
that he thought they did too much of an exposition dump at the end. Like he thought they over explained it. So it's so funny. That just shows you how all this shit, it's so subjective. Like, okay, it
yeah,
didn't work for you. Like, I'm not afraid of clowns, but some people see a regular clown and lose their shit.
right,
It's
exactly.
called color phobia. That's a little trivia for you. But do you know what I mean? And like, okay, it wasn't scary to you, but that doesn't make it a bad movie. Maybe
No,
you didn't enjoy it,
so
but
I would say it's people, and that's fine. Like if it doesn't scare you, it doesn't scare you. But the deeper thing of like having
and
a
again,
movie explain something to you, I think it's not very interesting. Like I think there is merit to that, but this movie itself is, and this has been said elsewhere, but also it's more about the, it's not about the how, it's about the why. Like why is this happening and why is he showing me this information like this? It's so more or less like people are like, I don't understand the tethered because what it, like I want to hear more explanation of why are they here or how does this work, and I'm like, I
are
don't
we in a
think,
spoiler zone yet or no?
yeah, we are, let's do it.
Okay.
It's more like I just don't understand how having that information would benefit you in any way.
Yeah, and Jordan Peele has stated so many times that this is just a horror movie. It's not like it's not a socio-economical thriller like Get Out, you know.
Yeah.
But people are treating it as if it is the same as that, and they're looking for so many more answers,
Mm-hmm.
which you don't need. See, this is getting into the weeds a little bit, but I find there's a lot of horror movies that start as a short, right?
Mm-hmm.
Say Lights Out, for example. Great short. I didn't even watch the movie because it sucks. Um, I find the reason with the shorts work so well. Mama is another good example. Guillermo del Toro produced it. Excuse me. But in a short, you just get the scare. You get you like here's a creature that was great, and it's the
Yeah.
thing with the movie is they have to fill time, and you need to kill a beast or a creature or whatever, and you need to explain the thing more. And for me, whenever you need to do that explanation, or it could even be somebody like Hannibal Lecter or Darth Vader, when you need to explain their origin, it it loses so much. Sometimes it's the mystery. we don't care what happened with the prequels. Anakin sucks. We ignore those, pretend like it didn't happen. Darth Vader is terrifying.
Yeah,
Hannibal Origins was garbage. Like Hannibal just you don't need to see
that's
you don't need
right.
to know where these things come from all the time. Sometimes it's just shut up,
It's
enjoy. It's a popcorn movie. That's all it is.
so what I equate it to is it's the knowing the magic trick kind of analogy of like,
That's a good. I like that.
yeah, because it's like, oh, well, how did they do the magic trick? And then you find out and you're like, oh, okay. Like that's the reaction. It's like, oh, okay, that's cool, but all right. Like that's like explaining how do the tethered work? How did the government make the tethered? Okay, microbots. Does that satisfy you? No. Like
Yeah.
that would be the worst thing, right? So
Mhm.
it's totally like these are the tethered, some government experiments that went wrong, whatever. But this is what the movie's actually about,
Yes.
almost.
So this movie, I didn't watch the trailer. I watched up to the part where he's like, "There's a family yard," and then I
Yeah,
turned
I
it
didn't
off.
even watch
I
the
didn't know they were doppelgangers.
yeah, I didn't watch the trailer either.
So I had a bit different experience. Like as soon as, oh my god, what was her name? Adelaide, Lupita Nyong'o's.
Mm-hmm.
The movie starts with her in like 1986 or something,
Mm-hmm.
and she has a traumatic experience in a funhouse mirror where she sees a double. Yada yada yada. But
Yeah.
like I knew, I knew that they switched at that moment, so I knew that Lupita was bad. Well, not bad, but different the whole
Right.
time.
Interesting.
Which, yeah, like I didn't, I'm not trying to be pretentious or anything, I swear, but like I thought it was a little more obvious, and then a big
Mm.
reveal. I was like, were we not all on board with that? But in watching the movie, like there were so many clues through. I've only seen it once, but there's so many clues throughout the movie where you'd be like, it was kind of confirmation bias. I'm like, yeah, okay, like that is,
Mm-hmm.
she couldn't kill her the tethered children.
Right.
She had whenever she saw what was her name? Umbre, her daughter, the
Yep.
tethered daughter. Like whenever
Mm-hmm.
she's all mangled in a tree, she couldn't actually kill her. She just watched whenever the boy died, Pluto. She was super upset. And then there are some other parts where she's doing the kind of she reverts into like the like the weird
Oh
barking
man.
because they don't speak, right?
Yeah.
And then whenever Lupita Nyong'o's character, her other character, Red, she can speak. She sounds like she swallowed a bullfrog, and it's
Or
one of the
that she was
creepiest
choked.
voices.
That she
Yeah,
got
and she
choked.
was choked exactly, and nobody speaks down below,
Yeah.
so she hasn't used her vocal cords in like over 20 years.
Yeah.
So her trachea or whatever's mangled, and she doesn't use it, so that's why it sounds so harsh. So these are all these things that kind of like reinforce it. And one thing that I thought was really cool.
Hmm.
Again, I haven't seen anybody talk about this, but Lupita's character wears, for the bulk of the movie, she's in beige pants and a white top.
Mm-hmm.
But as the movie goes on and more chaos ensues, she gets splattered with blood here and there. At the end, she gets stabbed in the side, blood runs down, and then ultimately, again, super double spoilers, Adelaide kills Red, and she stabs her, and then she kind of embraces her and hugs her, but then when she drops, she's covered in blood in the top. And as the movie goes through, her white shirt gets more and more stained with red. We
Yeah.
see as the movie goes on, by the end, she's in a red outfit, much like all the other tethered. And I thought that was just a great imagery.
That's amazing, and I this is why I really love this movie is because there's and again we could have dedicated an entire podcast to this, and I won't, but I just love everyone's thoughts about this movie and how they felt about it in this way. Like if people think about this movie in this way, I think it's a big success because there's so
Yeah.
much to pick apart about this movie, and there's so many Easter eggs that you can pull from it.
Yeah.
It's just when people they're like, well, I don't get it. It didn't scare me. I hate it.
And you know what I thought was funny too? I guess it should have been a clue that I was like, oh, maybe
Oh,
Duke. Hello? Can you
yep.
hear me? Yeah, okay.
I missed that clue. It should have been a clue that.
Oh, a clue that I wasn't on the same page as everyone
Yeah.
in the theater. But like when Duke, his character, bowed at one point, they have an altercation. But his what's his big what's Abraham, his double Abraham. Whenever he's on the boat, he's just in the middle of a lake. It's Santa Cruz, there's a bunch of beach houses and stuff, and he lets out this like guttural yell, and then you just hear in the distance a yell back. And I was like, to me, I was like, okay, they're everywhere. The tethered are like everybody's doubles. Do you know?
Yeah.
But when he was doing those, the people in the audience, like he would be like, "Roar," and then people in the audience were laughing at that, and I'm
Yeah.
like, yo, like that's terrifying because he's basically like a wolf howling to his pack, and they're howling back, but the people in the audience didn't get that. They thought it was funny. They'd be
Yeah,
like, "What is this guy doing?" He's just like having a victory lap and screaming,
that's the audience
which
in
I thought
my
was
thing
cool.
was like that
But
too.
my theory, so who do you think made the tethered?
I think they touch on it. They just say
Hello?
government. They say government. I'm pretty sure. Oh, are you here? Oh boy, what a day! What a day! Man.
You can hear me?
Uh,
Okay, I'm gonna keep going. Um, so everybody that I've talked to feels that the tethered was created by scientists or whatever, but my reading of the movie is that it goes way longer than that.
hmm.
I feel like it was some sort of dark magic back in the day because somebody does mention that they've been there for generations,
Mm-hmm.
and like they mentioned that there was an experiment, and I feel like a lot of people take that to mean, oh, it was scientists
Right.
created this thing, but the whole thing has a supernatural element to it already, and I think hello.
Yep.
So I feel like it's some sort of like ancient magic that made these things in the first place because there is a supernatural. All these things are connected. Just simply being clones wouldn't explain that. And
So
the place, yep,
did
go on.
so that's interesting to me because everywhere I've read, and I believe I heard this in the movie too, that it was a government experiment that went wrong, and that's about as much as that
I
they
feel like
explained.
I don't know. And maybe I missed the word government, but I feel like I just remembered him talking about man doing an experiment that went wrong, and then they put them
Mm,
underneath. But
okay.
yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's a scientific explanation. I think it's a magic explanation, which, if that's the case, it just gives so much more leeway to be like, well, why this? Where did they get the backwards Thriller shirt? It's magic. Shut up. We don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I've never heard the magic theory. I've only heard like, well, not even a theory. People just say government. But
Yeah,
I do.
but even somebody does definitely mention they've been there for generations. And if we're going with government, well, even if we're going with scientists, there wouldn't have been any science that could do that more than 100 years ago. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I
Well,
suppose.
okay, like
Yeah.
Nikola Tesla did it, I
Sure,
guess.
sure.
Like
I'm just like,
after he finished the stuff in the Prestige, that
I think
cloning
you,
each other
yeah,
over
Hugh
again.
Jackman. Uh, I think you can kind of push away any explanation with government and stuff and whatever. But I don't think like again that explanation doesn't matter. Like to me,
Exactly.
it's more like okay, what are the themes of this movie? And like when people like talk about like Hands Across America and how's it,
Redlining,
and what does that mean and how
the
some people.
redlining,
That's right.
the class. Basically, they're
Yeah,
a downtrodden class.
yeah, the lower class can succeed, and there's like a positive way to think about that and a negative way. The positive way obviously being like, yeah, of course, the people who are beaten down and told that they can't do anything can rise above their station and just become, important. And then
Hmm.
another theory of that is that okay, maybe the worst case of humanity, where versions of ourselves are the ones that will take over the country, the United States of America. There's
Hmm.
like I don't know. There's just so many different ways to think about this movie, and again, that's what I really appreciate about it. The last, well, yeah. Again, we can go through forever talking about this movie. I love the theory about Jason and how he could have been switched. I don't know
I
if I agree.
don't like that
I
one.
don't know if I can agree with it, but I like that it's there.
Steph again just told me about that one yesterday, and
Yeah.
I don't like that because for that to be legit, it happened in the past year, and I'm
Hmm.
like, there's no way that this kid could have come from the underground and flipped all that stuff
And
in a
my
year. Like he had
interpretation,
no PTSD, no
right?
trauma. Like
So
we,
my interpretation of yes, and there's a lot of holes in that theory, but I just like that it exists.
hmm,
My interpretation of Adelaide, or who is actually Red, I thought she genuinely like suppressed the memory that she was tethered. I did not.
hmm.
That's how I interpreted it when I watched the entire movie. And then obviously I have other people telling, saying their own stories, being like, no, no, she totally knew this entire time. And I'm like, that didn't even click with me. So that's neat, I guess.
Yeah. No, I don't know. Like that's what earlier, just going back to the thing where it's like people said the movie's not good, and like it's a very subjective thing because just a movie like this, hate it or love it, it inspires so much conversation and
Yes.
so many think pieces. Like it is art. You look at a painting and you can interpret it a million different ways, and that's what he's done here. And I think he succeeded in with what he set out to do.
I completely agree. A couple favorite moments I have here. I love Umbre and the scene of when she's running
Oh, she's so
and
fast.
she's so fast, and she gets to the car and then she ducks. That scared me so much.
Oh, she's such a creep.
When obviously when they're standing outside, I didn't watch the trailer, so I had no idea. But when Red claps her hands and everyone just pieces,
Scatters. Yeah.
I was frightened of that. And I
Yeah,
love
just
the
even with that part though, like I feel like she probably did know something is coming because as soon as the son, he says that there's people standing in the driveway, she tells Zora, her daughter, she's like, "Put on your shoes right
right.
now." Like she knows the shit's about to hit the fan.
Well,
So
see
I feel like
that's
she's got a little inside baseball.
well,
She knows what's up.
that's the thing is I didn't know she knew who the she just I thought she just because she has the memory of a child, right? Of going into the House of Mirrors, and that's where I pulled the like, okay, she just assumes that something's coming towards her because she feels like there's a shadow lingering on her. I never got the impression that it's like, oh no, the real Adelaide's about to come get me. So, what else do we have? The dance and the cutting with the scissors at the end when they're kind of mirroring. Like, I just want to really say is that the music in this movie, or the music of Us is so incredible, and it's just so creepy. And I'm sorry, everyone, that Taylor has such a bad microphone issue today. But let's see here. I'm just gonna chat with him quick.
Oh,
You,
hello.
hi, man. We are having a terrible luck today.
Yeah, this is embarrassing.
Uh,
Leave the people wanting more. That was your
that's
mission
exactly.
statement.
I was just talking about how the dance with Adelaide and Red at the end, like them flashing back and forth between that, was
Mm.
just a really amazing moment, and creepy. But I was also talking about the music in the movie is so haunting.
It's yeah, just it's the whole thing just has a creepy cloud. Just ugh,
Yeah.
it's creepy. I feel like it's not super scary. It's just very creepy to me.
Yeah, and I agree. Like I actually, well, I think creepy and scary can go almost hand in hand for me. But yes, um,
Yeah,
let's.
just for me, it's just like it didn't scare me, but it's just like ugh,
Right.
creeped out and tense the whole time.
Last thing I'll say about the movie, really quick, because I want to move on, is what did you like it better than Get Out, or do you like it the same? Is it two different things, or what do you think?
Ugh. Honestly, they are so different. It's kind of apples and oranges, but I don't know. I honestly haven't really ranked one above the other. I feel like I would probably, I because I have rewatched Get Out, but I feel like if you had two of them, I would probably put Us on again because there's a
Yeah.
little more going on. It's a little more like action heavy. It's a little more.
So this is where I landed on it, and there's a lot of people who disagree, and that's fine. Is that I like it better than Get Out because of the discussions and because it's so nuanced. Is when I watch Get Out, I know what this movie is about, and I know what the themes of the movie are, and it's very well made. I just Us, there's just so much going on that I could probably watch it a zillion times and then have a bunch of different thoughts about it. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Dumbo.
Ugh.
Oh my god. Ooh. Oh, we've been
Full
talking.
disclosure, I did not see
That's
Dumbo.
okay. That's okay. Oh, we've been
Did
talking for a
anybody?
while. Let's see here. Let me see, what time is it. Yeah, we got it. Uh, I went to see Dumbo with my friend Navala, who's on last month's episode,
Mhm.
and like I have again, I don't have much to say about it except for like it is Tim Burton's latest film in his like remakes that he's been doing for Disney. It's actually ranked the lowest of all the live action remakes
I believe it.
in terms of box office numbers, which I find
46
a,
mil.
116 worldwide, but yeah, 46 in North America. I find that surprising only because like I don't. Why did people watch Alice Through the Looking Glass? I don't know, or Pete's Dragon. Uh,
Oh my god, it's lower than those.
yeah, it's lower
Oh
than those.
wow.
It's the lowest.
Woof.
But and Dumbo, like it's a when you say Dumbo, people know what you're talking about. So at least it has the name
Name
recognition
recognition.
name recognition to it. So that's why when I was a kid, I barely even interacted with Dumbo. I saw it a couple times, and I didn't much care for it when I was a kid.
No.
But I didn't hate it as a kid either, and that's how I feel about this movie. Is that I don't I came away being like it was not as bad as I thought it would be because I thought it would be a train wreck. Uh, but it actually, I walked out of it being like, all right, that wasn't so bad, but it does nothing to kind of push forward or try to convince people that live action remakes are necessary,
Yeah.
as well as in its storytelling. It does nothing different to make it seem more, I don't know, coherent and mature, and it doesn't push any boundaries.
Yeah,
Uh,
I've heard it missed the mark on a lot of.
yeah.
So what was this? Let me just, as an outsider, story.
You have Colin Farrell's character, who is probably the better part of the movie, who is a war veteran who comes home to his original home, which is a circus, and uh, basically now that he's back and he lost an arm, he can't ride horses anymore. So they tell him to be in charge of the elephants. And the mama elephant that Danny DeVito's character bought uh, gives birth to Dumbo, a elephant, a freak elephant with large ears, and there's a lot of oh he has large ears, let's make fun of him kind of thing. Although he's completely adorable looking CGI elephant, and then they learn that he can fly. So after they learn that he can fly, they take his flying abilities around the circus racket, I guess, and he gets discovered by Michael Keaton's character, uh, and then yeah, it basically goes from there.
Honestly, I wish my microphone had have cut out during that. Like, just none of that is interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of
Honestly,
like
you kept saying you'd be like, and then Danny Vito. I'm like, oh fuck, he's still going. And they're like, and then Michael Keaton. I'm like,
well,
seriously, like
see,
wrap it up.
Danny DeVito. I like Danny DeVito, so he's always magnetic to me when I watch him. He's ridiculous, but he's. I wish they gave him more ridiculousness in the movie almost. Uh, Same with Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton really hams it up during the show or during the movie, and he, even though it's really hammy, he was still probably my favorite part of the movie. Like it's just that kind of stuff that I'm like I'm looking for things to be more interested in than the actual plot of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is completely side thing, but Danny DeVito and Mrs. Mack from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia have like a mini It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia reunion where she's kind of just like kind of bad mouthing Danny, and I'm like, oh, that's funny because I know them from those two shows or that one show. It's just like, huh, I'm pulling the wrong thing from this movie if that's all.
Yeah,
I'm
you're
getting.
like, oh, I needed to be reminded of a different thing to
Yeah,
enjoy this thing.
like
Okay, you have some nephews.
yeah,
Like, who would you recommend this movie to, if
I
anyone?
I would recommend this movie to yeah families with like a really young audience, I guess, because I will say at its best there is hints of that Disney magic that you are familiar with. There's when you see Dumbo fly, like I know that's his thing, but when you see
Mm-hmm.
him fly and the music swells, you're like, okay, there might be something to this, right? And then it's just everything after that and before that is just like when he's not flying, there's nothing really bringing this movie together, I guess. So I would say it's for really young kids who can still appreciate that stuff and don't really have like like the movie has the Tim Burton feel of it, so it's still like magical in that sense where it's very colorful,
Mm-hmm.
or has a really diverse color palette, which is weird because it also has a muted color palette at the same time. It's like
They do that so often.
they have like a bunch of color and then they put like this gray filter on top of it, and I don't understand why it's like that. If you're gonna go all
Yeah.
balls out creative and colorful, then do it. Um, yeah, and
So it sounds like you're basically saying, go see Us.
yeah, go see Us. Dumbo is
Take your
not
families.
worth the money. Well, no, don't see it in theaters. It's for young audiences, or if you want to throw in the background while you're. There's plenty of movies to throw in the background, but if you're really just kind of curious, it's not a train wreck. Again, it's just very, very middle of the road.
Mm-hmm.
And
It sounds
which,
very pointless from everything that I've heard.
yeah, and that's the problem is there's not enough wonder in the movie, and
Mm.
for a movie that has the circus and they try to have all this wonder to it, I just wanted them to have more. The last thing I'll say is and this is the one good part of the movie, is there's a pretty great, and I'll use the word great because I thought it was really fun in a movie that didn't have as much fun as I wanted it to. There's a great Dumbo mom is kind of trapped. Basically, I won't spoil the whole thing, and I don't need to. Whatever, I won't. But basically, Dumbo's mom is trapped with the evil circus people, and she's about to get killed, because they want to keep Dumbo for themselves, and they don't want to have Dumbo's mom around, basically, because that's all Dumbo really cares about, is being reunited with his mom. So let's kill the mom and keep Dumbo forever. But there's a great scene where the whole circus gets together, and there's like a breakout scene where they try to save Dumbo's mom, where you have like the circus strong man using his strength to like pull apart like iron bars, and then you got like the contortionist who like sneaks his way through those bars, and then you got like the person who pretends they're a mermaid who's singing and distracts the guards and brings them into the so
she's a siren.
So there's a lot of that stuff. Like that scene was really great, because I was like, oh, they're finally using these circus people. But then it made me think, I'm like, if they're going to do that part of the movie, they should have spent more time with the circus people, because they don't develop the circus that well. Like you meet them, they're really kind of flamboyant people, and they love Dumbo, but you don't get a sense of why they love Dumbo. It's kind of like they learn that he flies, and they flash forward being like, and then months later, Dumbo's very successful at this circus, and you have to assume that there's been camaraderie between the whole circus, and it's kind of sad if you think about it like that. So it's a whatever movie. I swear to God, there's one line in the movie where they must have hired a high school student from like a cereal box contest, because it was so poorly
for the line read, or for the line itself.
The line read, it was so poorly delivered. It was jarring. It was like this, and I forget Michael Keaton's name, but I'm gonna use Michael Keaton's name. Oh, I'll use your name, Taylor. So basically, you're on a kind of like a tower that's getting set on fire, and you're kind of pushing all these buttons, but all these buttons that you're pressing is kind of making it go up in flames more. So he goes like this: Taylor, don't press any more buttons, because if you do, everything will explode.
It's just some random kid?
It's some random kid, and that's his only line. He's a kid being like maybe 17 years old, and I was like, what is this? I laughed really hard.
It must be his nephew or something.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. Anyways, that's it for Dumbo. I have nothing else
to
say.
Let's stop talking about this stupid movie.
We did it, Taylor. We made it to the end of Talking Tuong.
Ooh, barely.
Yeah, like our audio. Oof. We got to work on that. Let's see here. Things in April. Let's anything.
Avengers and Game of Thrones. April's going to be huge.
Avengers, Game of Thrones. I wrote Shazam, Hellboy. Hellboy, I don't think is going to be a good movie now that I've seen the trailers, but
yeah, it's a Screen Gems movie. The people that do like Resident Evil and stuff, and when I found that out, I kind of
want to just have a fun time. So if you can give me that, then like mindless fun, then I'll be happy.
Yeah. I'm into that.
Missing Link. People who make Kubo in the Two Strings.
Leica.
Yeah.
Leica, the production house, yeah.
Right. I have no, like, even though I said I'm kind of coming around to horror movies, I'm going to be select with them. Pet Sematary, I don't really know.
When you were talking about Dumbo, I was just scrolling around the internet. IGN gave it an 8.2. Pet Sematary.
And Mortal Kombat 11, that comes out. That's the only video game that comes out that's worth mentioning. But Avengers Endgame, that's the only thing I really, really, really care about. And
Game of Thrones,
and Game of Thrones will be fun too. All right, Taylor. Whew, that's a lot of talking.
That was a long one.
That's a long one. Who knows how long that was?
There's no way to know.
Anything you want to plug at all? Anything that's going on in your life? Any shows you recommend? Comic books, series, anything like that?
God, I don't know. Not off the top of my head. There's too many things you just threw at me. Oh, actually, I've just started watching the show on Netflix. I'm late to the game, but People Just Do Nothing. It is hilarious. It's a mockumentary about a couple of boys who have a pirate radio station in Brentford. It's a west part of London, basically, and it's kind of like the Trailer Park Boys. They're just scheming and shit, but they're really bad at what they do. Their music, they just focus on garage music, drum and bass. It's like terrible 2002 fucking British rap music, but it is so fun.
Good. All right.
Yeah, it's very funny.
What's it called again?
People just do nothing.
People just do nothing. You heard it here first, folks, or maybe you heard it already.
Yeah, because it came out in 2014. There are 5 seasons.
Well, there's a lot of stuff on Netflix, so they gotta weed. The people at home need to weed through the garbage, to get.
What do you want to plug, bud?
I want to plug a ranked top 5 list of stuff that don't matter. I want to plug the rest of the PodCavern with the improv punch up. PodCavern plays. I haven't played a game in a while. It's been tough. Maybe I'll stream some
Maybe
Apex.
Mortal Kombat.
Maybe Mortal Kombat. Maybe some Apex. Although no, I suck too hard. People don't want to watch that. Let's see. I want to do another Cinema Saves the World soon, and we're trying to plan around that. Me and Pull the Plug, PodCavern and Pull the Plug. We're trying to marathon more movies for charity. We just haven't figured out what charity and what movies. So that will definitely happen sometime within the next couple months.
Do like the first 3 Indiana Jones or something.
If we did that, we would have to include Crystal Skull. Unfortunately.
Oh, woof.
Yeah. We would do that to ourselves.
As far as ranked, can you give us a little tease? Do we know what the next episode's going to be?
I don't. I'll have to look that over. But there will be something Marvel related for sure to match up with Endgame or the week after or something like that.
The last episode was top 5 things about spring, and that's pretty appropriate right now. April 1st.
That's right. I wish I had top 5 April Fool's pranks, but the only prank we have is that there won't be another episode of Talking Tongue until next month, which is not really a prank. That's just sadness. Taylor, that's it for me. Anything else you want to say? You want to watch Dumbo?
Nobody. Thank you for having me. It's nice. I'm still itching to know what Angus thought about Captain Marvel, but we'll get there one day.
We'll get there one day. And you know what? There's better movies out there, like Dumbo.
That's true.
No, that's not true. Don't go see Dumbo. Bye, everyone.
Bye.